Episode 61. Rated R for Radd. Hello?
All right. Broadcasting live for only us.
Right.
Everything's live when you think about it.
Unless it's dead.
That is true. That's your wisdom to take with you.
Of course, it could be the living dead. And then
There you go.
I guess it's kind of a mix of both.
Best of both worlds.
All right.
Yeah. So as we wait for, hopefully Kirby didn't get a response at all, so we'll see once. But
Yeah, and I'll have to look up every once in a while to make sure we don't have like a surprise guest or anything. Although after last time, I don't know.
well, I'm out at 8, so once it's 8 o'clock. But yeah, I guess while we wait for him, I can kind of talk about a few of the topics, just to announce the topics. The fact that not live on this podcast, even though I just talked about being live. I tried the new Mountain Dew Major Melon, as they call it, and but I will be doing a live review of something I drank live the other day. That's one of my topics that I was going to bring to the table. A very short topic, but a longer discussion would be the Deadpool 3 news that was basically just a sort of a reconfirmation of news that they had said a while back, but people got worried that we weren't hearing anything.
Yeah.
It's more so
worried because, I mean, people made the assumption quite a while ago that it was going to happen. And I think it was confirmed that, yeah, that's the plan. And this is just kind of reconfirming.
Yeah, as Bob Iger of Disney was one that, like, he literally said Ryan Reynolds back on like the day that they officially had the Fox rights and all that stuff, and they bought Fox, and but then so many people were not sure if that was going to be MCU related, and then the whole rated R thing, and even though they said it then, while there's no news and a pandemic happening, they they weren't rushing out to say, hey, this is starting to film now. But so people started to be like, oh, it's not going to be rated R, it's going to suck, and blah, blah, blah. And now they just been like, yeah, okay, now they're doing press for the WandaVision show. So Kevin Feige is kind of, for the first time in like a year, has opened himself up to press questions because they haven't been promoting anything.
Yeah.
In that sense.
It's hard to do a lot of promoting when so much is up in the air, because even things that you announce and talk about these days, there's very little certainty as to what's actually going to happen, because you don't know if something else is going to get shut down and if it's going to cause some crazy effect where even if something is already like fully produced and ready to go, all of a sudden there's some big shutdown and the people that need to put it out there can't even go to work to put it out there. And things like that can happen.
Yeah, Marvel Studios has 2 movies in the chamber with Black Widow and the Eternals. I think they wrapped Shang-Chi. They're probably still doing post-production, editing, and all that kind of stuff. But Doctor Strange is filming right now. They at this point they've gotten to the way of working with COVID under the circumstances and added health precautions and things like that. With Disney Plus, they're in that safe space of like, well, this stuff is being filmed and happening and done and ready to come out and can come out because it just goes right to people's homes. The movies are the one thing bringing up that uncertainty that you had mentioned, where it's just like, yeah, they're still making that stuff, but the release of that, they're still, even up to this week with Kevin Feige saying, there are no plans, at least at this time, for Black Widow to do what Mulan did with or what Wonder Woman did of having that access through Disney Plus. But they're really holding out for it, and I guess once it actually comes up to it is when we'll get a decision whether that might be them just finally giving in. But as a company, they want to hold off as much as they can while they have all of this other stuff happening anyways.
I've seen some of the release stuff, but I don't remember how soon things are coming without looking it up. But the next one that we should see, I mean, obviously, we've got WandaVision in what, like 2 days?
Yep.
As the time that we're
recording.
Yeah, recording this. Could be 2 days ago by the time you're listening to it. Could have been last month, or
So
whatever.
if it already aired when people are listening or watching to this, I loved it. So there we go. There you got my exclusive review. No, but when it comes to you, like I know everything that's down the pipeline just because that's what I revolve my life around, of like knowing that stuff. So yeah, WandaVision, those episodes based on the episode count will lead us right into March for Falcon and Winter Soldier, which based on that episode count should take us to May-ish is when Loki is coming out, all Disney Plus shows. That'll take us to July with the What If animated show, and that'll take us into September, which at the moment Hawkeye is filming. Hawkeye, She-Hulk, Ms. Marvel are all kind of scheduled for the late 2021, so that could be your September, November, and then maybe She-Hulk would probably be one that would probably go into January or something, because based on those schedules, having a 2-month gap that allows them with their episode counts to kind of basically almost give us MCU content on Disney Plus almost every Friday for at least through summer. So,
and it's fortunate that that Marvel and Disney had decided that they were going to go the route of Disney Plus and not do just the movies, but do some of these shows, and to put them out on Disney Plus, because that does give them things to put out there while we're waiting for things, as far as theater releases, to really take off again and get back to some sense of normal in that way, where people are actually going to the theaters and they're going to see the box office returns that one might expect from the MCU. But as they're holding off on that, they have all this Disney Plus, all these shows to put out there just to keep people interested and to make some money in the meantime. But unless, and there's probably some conspiracy theory out there that Disney is behind COVID.
probably.
But maybe it was part of their plan, that they're like, what, we're gonna launch all this stuff on Disney Plus, so let's put this COVID thing out there to get people to stay at home and watch Disney Plus.
Yeah.
While I do not think that is the case whatsoever, I'm sure somebody does.
Yeah, it's I think it's all part of Thanos's plan with the snap and everything. This is, we thought everything was fine by the end of Endgame, and heroes coming back and all that stuff, but there were some repercussions that they just didn't touch base with in Far From Home. back in July of 2019, which would have been our last MCU content, unless you count Shield, which would be MCU adjacent-ness content. But yeah.
And have you heard the big news about the Netflix shows?
Yeah, oh,
the big news is that they're not ruling it out.
Oh, for the Marvel Netflix stuff, the hero,
right?
Okay.
The Marvel Netflix shows, we're never ruled out. So I just laugh every time I see some big news thing, and it's like, so and so from Disney or so and so from Marvel, says that they are not ruling out bringing back the Marvel Netflix shows, through some other means, of course, obviously not on Netflix.
Is Charlie Cox coming back as Daredevil? Is that going to happen? It might. It could. We would like to. Who knows?
Yeah. Disney exec says it might happen.
We also say it might happen. I'll also say Ben Affleck might return as Daredevil in Spider-Man 3. This might be the first time someone has said it, but I have now said it. So let's hopefully we'll get some news once this is posted. So
it would make so much sense.
That would be pretty cool though. But anyway,
rumors swirl that Ben Affleck is returning as Daredevil.
He is. They just announced news that he's directing some Disney thing. I didn't read into it because I, wasn't concerned. I'm sure I'll watch it whenever it comes out in like 2 years. But I just saw that as a headline of he's directing some Disney related thing. So here he goes. Now he's over at the Disney payroll, and next thing you know, he's showing up as Matt Murdock. So
maybe they're keeping it, on the down low. But maybe part of the deal was, hey, we'll let you direct something if you come back as Daredevil for, Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, that might be just enough, because I think Warner Brothers had like a similar thing of like, with him doing his Batman stuff. Then I don't know if he had set up like 3 directorial, like some sort of exclusive contract with them or something. I don't know if any of that stuff
happens all the time.
But yeah. I guess, and we'll go into it now just because, we are 15 minutes in. So the Deadpool 3, to keep with the MCU. So Kevin Feige has confirmed that Deadpool 3 is happening. It's being written. It is going to be starring Ryan Reynolds. And so he is returning. And he did confirm rated R. And Ryan Reynolds posted his confirmation of it through a tweet that said something along the lines of, how people are wondering like, oh, how did he get, Disney to convince them to make Deadpool 3 rated R? And Ryan Reynolds.
It's simple. They just changed what the ratings mean.
Yeah.
Now R is for Radd.
There we go. Radd with 1 D or 2 Ds.
Well, I was going to say, it turns out the Silver Surfer movie that hasn't been announced yet will also be rated R.
Oh, yes. Yeah, Ryan Reynolds said that he just showed them Spider-Man 1 and 2 and said they were Deadpool 1 and 2. That's how we got the confirmation. So he tricked them. So, but yeah, it's happening for anybody that, was a lot of people just, once again, were unsure and scared and saying, oh, Disney's going to ruin it, and not realizing that all they would have to do is, advertise a movie that it's rated R like every other movie that's rated R. And it's not going to open up with the Disney castle. The Marvel movies don't open up at the Disney castle. You don't see Disney name in the opening of Marvel movies. You probably see it buried at the very end of the credits or something. So, but yeah.
Well, you could start with the Marvel banner. You get comics or movie stuff. Personally, I like the comics better. When they flip through the comics, and it would make it, because it connected the two. And now they switched it over and they just show stuff from the MCU in there, which still cool. But the comics, was really cooler because it showed kind of where the stuff comes from,
Oh yeah.
and it connected the movies to the comics in a way that didn't get done otherwise. I mean, there's a lot of people that go watch these movies that don't watch the comic or don't read the comics or watch the comics. You know, I got my eye on you.
I've been watching the comics the whole time.
Um, you know, so just putting that little touch, going, hey, remember this was a comic first. Um, you know, it was that was always really cool. I loved that way of going into it. For me, that was more exciting than what they do now with the images from within the MCU.
Yeah, I preferred the comic one as well because hey, we're gonna see 2 hours to 2.5 hours of the live action stuff, so we'll see their faces again. Uh,
But we could start. You know, if they at some point want to put the Disney castle in there, all they have to do is flip through all this until it turns into the Marvel banner, and then they pull back off the Marvel banner and it's hanging up on the castle.
and it would be funny. It would be funny if Deadpool was the first movie to actually have the castle in there for the opening, just to play on the joke of everyone being worried.
It would be a very very Deadpool thing to do.
Yeah, and I could see a world where we're obviously going to see Deadpool interact in non-Deadpool movies. They're definitely going to have him show up places, and I mean, all the comics are bleeped and stuff anyway. Anyways, there aren't any like black label Deadpool comics that I'm aware of where you actually, even in the Max stuff. I mean, I think they have the swear words in there and stuff for like
Yeah,
Jessica
Max,
Jones,
I believe.
but in normal Deadpool comics that have been coming out, black bars or asterisks and things like that. So I could see if he shows up in an Avengers movie to physically audibly hear a bleep, which would play into the Deadpool thing of it all. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of fun that way. But when we actually see Deadpool 3, that will be confirmed a rated R movie. So everyone can sleep easy. Ryan Reynolds is coming back and he's quote unquote overlooking the script and stuff. So it's pretty sure nothing's going to go up on the screen without a Kevin Feige and I almost just called him Wade Wilson, but Ryan Reynolds, aka Wade Wilson.
Yeah, there's certain things that they're not going to do. You know, we're not going to. We might get some Disney jokes, but they're going to be careful about what Disney jokes they've got. You know, we're not going to see Deadpool dropping in at Disneyland and dry humping Mickey Mouse or whatever. There's certain things that they're just not going to do, but they are allowing them to do Deadpool things.
Yeah, basically
And
keep the tone of those other movies.
yeah, and so I think it really does make sense to do that. And like you said, they don't have the whole Disney kingdom popping up at the beginning. They don't have Disney's name all over it. People know, but they'll distance a little bit from it.
All it really comes down to is the parents being, whether they're letting their kids, much like Deadpool 1 and 2. Sure, they might see Deadpool show up in a Spider-Man or something, but if it comes around being like, I want to see Deadpool, just being like, well, that's where the parents make their decision. And when I saw Deadpool 2, there was a young couple, probably my age or younger, with three very young kids, young girls that came in and sat in the front row of Deadpool 2, and the Melissa McCarthy puppet cop movie, Happy, what was it called? Happy, shoot, I
I
can't
know
think of
which
the
one you're
title.
talking about because I remember the story.
But yeah, and that trailer, uncensored trailer, showed beforehand, which was that would have been a wake up call, being like, oh, maybe we should double think this, because these are like 7, 8, 9-year-old girls, and then Deadpool 2 happened, and they all watched it. So hey, that's what they decided. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's certain things that some parents will let their kids watch or read or whatever, and then not other things. I mean, I remember very clearly right here in this basement, um, a certain customer, um, telling his kids, "Oh no, you can't get that," and then picking up like Punisher or whatever, which was just like equally as bad,
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but it's parents' call on what they want to do, and um, it might have been more like, I'm okay with the violence and everything. I just think that other comic is just crap. I don't like it. You know, don't know, where they make those choices.
So yeah, anyone expecting Deadpool 3? Most likely, my guess is probably going to be 2023 at the earliest when it comes to actually seeing it. But it doesn't hurt, or it doesn't rule out the fact that maybe we'll see Deadpool show up somewhere else beforehand. So
Well, the great thing about Deadpool versus a lot of other characters is, with the face, that Deadpool has, they could keep making Deadpool movies for 20 years,
yeah,
without anybody being like, Ryan Reynolds is really showing his age in that one.
yeah. All you just got to do is just keep that voice going. But
Right. Yeah, I mean, once he starts getting raspy and kind of old sounding,
we're going to do Old Man Deadpool. So
right. Yeah. Yeah. I bet Mark Hamill could do a Deadpool
there we go.
impersonation. He's really good.
Spider-Man. Oh wait. So yeah, that is the Deadpool 3 news, the confirmation. Back then when it happened, I kept saying, I'm like, yeah, they'll do it. They'll just have to advertise and let people know that, what this character is. And, Disney has put out R-rated movies through other, whatever, whether it's like Touchstone Pictures or something, like under the banner of Disney, they're not, it's not a big no on that kind of content. So
Right. Well, I mean, Disney owns so many things right now. I mean, buying Fox, they've got the stuff like the Alien franchise, for example, which I don't know if there's plans to do anything with that, but I'm sure they own it. Eventually, they're going to do something with it, and when they do something with it, they're not going to hold back and whatever, because it's Disney now. So now the Alien Queen really is a Disney princess or something like that. But they're still going to make stuff like that. They're just, again, those types of things will probably be a little bit further distance. It might not. The first thing you see is the fireworks and the castle.
just that beautiful opening. But yeah, as of this month, Alien variant covers for Marvel Comics are starting to roll out, and then in March is Alien #1, which I don't think anything continuity wise is related to the Marvel universe. They're just using the gimmick of, there's one of I think like Wolverine versus side by side pro. I think it's Venom in a side by side profile with one of the aliens, both of their mouths open or something. So that stuff is happening. They're definitely using that license, at least in the comics. So movies.
Comics there are too. I think they just announced releasing yet another volume of older Alien comics, like another omnibus. I think I just recently saw some other omnibus that was getting released on there.
I was gonna say before we got away from the scene, but I think it just cut away. When you coughed, it was at the exact same time I'm watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze, and a bunch of ninja smoke came up to kind of clear the scene. And when that happened, that you had coughed, and it was just kind of I saw both of those things happen at once.
I planned that.
Yeah, that was very, very well done. So,
I mean, I'm just looking just off screen. I see what you're doing. People don't realize we're in the same building.
Yeah. It would be interesting if I set up a comic rack right here and we can just turn like this the whole time and say, yeah, how's it going?
Let me just pan over to the surfer that everybody knows I have, right?
Yeah. So, anyways, that is one big news topic that I had brought to the table. One of your topics, though, we may have seen it already.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, it was just because we sometimes bring in some food items and talk about. So today was one of those days where, as we're recording at an earlier time, I had the challenge of getting dinner ready and trying to eat in time, which wasn't going to happen. So I'm like, well, I'm going to have to eat during the show. I might as well talk about it. And one of the reasons that I made this is, which I'll get to what this is in just a second. But for work, we have had in the past, we've had these chili cook-offs. And I think we've done them 3 times now. The first year I won first place. I was knocked down to second place the second year, but made it back to first place for the last year. And so we were planning on doing kind of a lunch type of thing, something a little bit more special at work, as sort of a year-end thing, even though we're in the beginning of another year, just because there's so many people that take vacation and everything. To have more people there, they wanted to do something special and bring something in for lunch or whatever. And they talked about maybe having people do a very COVID safe kind of everybody bring a dish or several people bring something or whatever. And I thought, well, I haven't heard anything about the chili cook-off, so maybe I'll bring mine in for that. And so I was planning on doing that, and that was supposed to be today that they were doing it, but they had just a couple of days ago decided that, okay, we're not going to do that. In part, I think, because they weren't sure how best to go about it, so they wanted a little bit more planning time. And so now they've announced that instead of doing that, that sometime next month they are in fact going to do another chili cook-off. But had all the stuff, made it for dinner, ate it as we got going here, and but I don't have just chili. Mine is called chalsa, and the whole story behind that is because when I had decided that I was going to make my own chili recipe, just throw some stuff together and just make it my own. And I went to the store to buy some things to make for it. And as I'm going through the ingredients that I thought about picking up for it, I'm like, listing them off, and I'm like, that's the same kind of stuff that I would put in a salsa. And I'm like, because I'm lazy, I'm just gonna buy a jar of my favorite salsa and a few other ingredients. I'll put that in there and I'll just see what happens.
Yeah.
And so I mixed all this stuff together. So it's not like there's a bunch of home prep stuff and whatever. I got canned things and jars of salsa and all this stuff. And I whipped it together. And, from these inexpensive, cheap and easy, kind of way of doing it, I came up with a chili recipe that everybody just loved. So it's, I always have to tell them after they tell me how great it is. I'm like, all I do is I buy a can of beans, jar of salsa, can of, this and that. I just dump them together, add a little seasoning, let it cook for the right amount of time, and boom, it's done. And yeah, it's not some huge chili cook-off, but it is a work thing. Usually there's about 8 or so people that will enter it. They'll have some of the higher ups, the execs come. I mean, we've got a bigger place. We've got, 8 with the warehouse. It's really 9 locations, so we're a multi-million-dollar company, and we get all these people to come in and sample our chili. And so I've gotten 2 first places and a second place prize for just this thrown together stuff. So came up with the name chalsa because essentially it's just chili made with salsa, and you know, and I've actually used it kind of as a salsa too. You know, you dip tortilla chips in it and everything.
Multi-purpose.
It's very very versatile, and I don't know. I have brought it into the shop. I don't know if you actually had tried it.
Yeah, I would imagine I probably did. I don't remember offhand, but here's the thing. If we go back and edit it, I'll give you two takes on this. So here we go. No, I don't think I have ever had it. Okay, and then here's the next one. Yes, yeah. Oh, it was very good. I liked it because it was like chili and salsa, but like together. And to me, I give it first place.
All right.
And cut. So there, now you got two options if we were to go back and figure out which version it is. But I'm sure you probably had to have brought it to one of the.
Yeah, I know that I brought it in. I'm trying to think when. I think I brought it in to at least one of the New Year's
Yeah.
things that we did.
Um,
So, but yeah, there's a lot of food when we get together and everybody brings stuff in, and you bring your cheese product, and you know, there was always something being brought into to these things. I always got to remember like who brought what when, because I know like Kirby and Shelley brought that awesome Crimson Cowl cookie at one time.
Eric's got the Bantha surprise, of course.
Yes, the Bantha surprise was awesome. I couldn't replicate it, so I had to bring the Sarlacc stew the year that we weren't going to have the Bantha surprise.
That I know I didn't have. So
You did not have that. See, I heard good things about that too. And again, all I did was I just, I'm like just throwing stuff together, and
see,
but that's pretty much how I cook. And most of the things that I make, when asked at gunpoint, people really say good things about it.
I wouldn't call myself an adventurous eater, and I remember you describing it, just saying how much stuff you threw in there, and you didn't know what was in there, and you were just letting it stew. And I'm like, yeah, that's not going to be a sell for me. So I'm going to go check out Dr. Kurtz's bucket of chicken or pork or whatever he brought. So,
And you know what? There was nothing wrong with a bucket of chicken. Some of that stuff too was, I mean, it was a great option. It was just one more thing that I got to stuff in my face. That's
yeah,
that's
yeah.
great. After COVID, we're gonna have to do something like that again. I don't know.
Yeah, and going back to when you were saying you were mixing all you're doing is kind of throwing that stuff together. It would be like somebody going and saying, "Hey, I make a very good peanut butter sandwich." So I went to the store, got the bread, got the peanut butter, bought a knife because I didn't own a knife, and then I just happened to walk past the jam and jelly aisle, and I figured, yeah, why not? I'll throw that in together, spread it on there, and now you got your famous, let's call it a peanut butter and jelly, let's say.
Yeah.
There wasn't a big science behind it. You're very open about, well, this is what I do, but together it's a great combo.
So there are many foods that you think about and you're like, who was the first person to come up with this one? I I mean, I've seen recently saw a post, about cows, and it was like, you've got to admit that the first person to ever milk a cow was a pervert.
Yeah.
It's like who, just some of the foods out there, like who was the first person to go, I'm gonna eat that?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a good. I'd watch a documentary like that, an origin of food. Where they go through all of these main
There
staples.
there are definitely some foods out there that, when you look at it or think of what goes into it, that it doesn't seem like something that it just the initial thought would be like, hey, I bet that's really good. I gotta have that. It's making my mouth water.
Like as I'm watching the turtles, what if somebody, who was the first person to put pineapple on a pizza, of just being, taking a non-ordinary topping for a pizza and just be like, well, let's throw pineapple, and now it's it's a thing.
Yeah. Well, even pizza itself, there's so much involved in it and whatever. So for somebody to have done that first time, a lot of foods you hear it was created by accident when, you know, so and so raisins were invented when so and so left their grapes out in the sun and whatever, and then they were like, oh, they've been sitting in the sun and went bad. I'll eat them anyway. uh, chop suey is an American dish that was done, I believe, when in like I think it originated from like the San Francisco area where they would take leftovers, at a Chinese restaurant, and they threw the stuff together. Um, which is probably a meal, not chop suey itself, but kind of how a lot of people eat. They have a few meals and they're like, what do we got to eat today? And they take all their leftovers and they throw them together. And there you go.
Well, here's a perfect segue into what I had. I make what I call my famous. It's not like I invented it or anything, but I like making mac and cheese, but adding pulled pork to it. So I dumped some pulled pork, crushed some crackers, added some shred cheese, and had a nice pulled pork and mac. And that's one of those things where I'm like, well, I have these two things here. I'm just going to combine those meals and throw them together. And
I'm definitely somebody who's creative and inventive when making food. Nobody really taught me to cook. Yes, there were meals prepared in my house. I was not involved in making very many of them at all. And because my mom doesn't watch this, which I know to be true, her cooking, was fine growing up. But when you get out and you taste other foods, you realize that, wow, I grew up on this stuff, but it was very plain. It wasn't like there wasn't really a lot done with it. Everything was thrown in the oven and baked, and that like Lowry seasoned salt was the favorite seasoning to put on everything. So everything just had this coating of seasoning salt and baked in the oven, and then you got it, whether it was fish or chicken or whatever it is, or it was like eating at Applebee's. It all tasted the same.
Or are you saying that your mom owns an Applebee's? That she's the inventor of Applebee's? She's the inspiration.
No, that just goes back to, and I'm sure I've said it before, going to Applebee's and realizing that no matter what you get, it's seasoned the same way. And I actually have, like, back when Tammy was eating meat and everything, we got stuff. I don't remember exactly which dish is completely different. And we tried each other's, and we're like, mine tasted exactly like hers, even though it was a completely different meal. So yeah,
basically getting something new at Taco Bell. It just comes in a different shape or something. It just, here's all the ingredients, and now it's just rolled up inside of this, and now we're gonna roll it up inside of this instead. So
yeah, and when people get tired of that, it's like, you know what? Well, now we're going to add Doritos, until they add Doritos to everything. Yep. And then everything tastes like Doritos.
Yep.
But yeah, growing up, there wasn't a lot of different flavors and stuff like that. So learning to cook on my own, I'm like, well, I don't know how to make that. There were a lot of things that I'd never even had. And then Tammy would like them, and I'm like, I've never had it. I don't know what it's supposed to taste like. I don't know how to cook it. And then I would throw stuff together, and she'd be like, wow, that's that was the best salmon I've ever had, or that was whatever. And it's like I had no idea what I was doing, but threw it together. So it's definitely not a skill I have. Maybe it's a more of a talent, where I'm just born with the ability to throw a bunch of crap together and it tastes wonderful.
And a great way to wash down some wonderful crap is to drink a beverage. Mountain Dew, a Major Melon, is the brand new. I assume it's going to be limited edition. I don't see any sort of tagline to say otherwise, but it is dew charged with watermelon. It's charged with it. I myself like Mountain Dew. You're a Mountain Dew drinker, right?
Occasionally, yeah. I don't do a lot of soda, but when I do, it's dew.
You do the dew. And while they've had Live Wire and Code Red and whatever the blue one was, Code Blue, I don't know. There was a Pitch Black one, which is one of the rare ones that I actually preferred over any dew, even the regular one, the grape Mountain Dew. It's come back a couple different times. Right now, it's not in rotation, so I'm kind of going through withdrawals. And back when they got rid of it the first time, probably in like 2003, I would make my own, getting regular Mountain Dew, and believe it or not, mix it with a grape soda and created my own Pitch Black at home. I know it's pretty inventive, and the recipe, that's it, everybody. If you want to do it, just add grape to Mountain Dew. So, but so every time they come out with these new flavors, I will try them, most likely like them, but it wouldn't be part of like this has to be here at all times next to the regular one. So, having said that, tried the watermelon one. It kind of gave me a vibe of Red Bull in a sense, where that one was very, it's like a sweet tart type of reaction. This is definitely very watermelony, but it gives me the feeling, the sensation like it's a Red Bull in a sense. Kind of has that essence to it while being charged with watermelon.
Essence of Red Bull.
Yes, it kind of that was the first thing I thought of when I drank it. Not taste wise, but just the burst of flavor that it projected into my mouth, if you will, and and oh boy, a good thing I said that because I've never really looked at the can beyond the watermelon. I gotta turn it the right way and get the glare off of there. Watermelon general, perhaps major.
Probably a major.
Yep, probably a major.
Most likely a major melon.
It's a good guess. But then there's like the watermelon vine, and then there's a crazy mouth in here that's got a crazy vine tongue going out here. So a lot of craziness going on, but I liked it.
On second thought, on a can of Major Melon Mountain Dew, that character is probably just like a corporal.
Yeah. Might just be kind of a, just a gimmick. He's kind of maybe fluffing up his resume a little bit, maybe for the sale of it. So, but yeah, with this, I was given this can for free from the Pepsi guys because I was asking if we had 20-ounce bottles because I wasn't going to commit to a 12-pack of this stuff. Probably assuming I would have one can and be like, oh, I got 11 more of these. I'll drink them, but it's not going to be.
Oh man, they're charged with watermelon.
Yeah, geez. Wish it would have told me. Oh wait, it does say that. But if I were in a party scenario or a gas station and one was there, I definitely would reach for this one for that. That's a limited time thing, but I'm not stocking the fridge like I would with the Pitch Black, which is a limited time circulated one, which I wish would stay at all times. But Damon says Dave should let them in.
Yeah, I should do that now. I see that. I don't think they've been on there very long because I probably.
Your volume just went down.
Really?
Yep. So it's back to how it was last week until it was fixed.
Until it wasn't.
But it was basically when you reached to maybe touch something on the computer, maybe is when it went down.
Oh, well, how's that?
So yeah, right now you're still at the low level. Damon, do you hear him at a low level?
I can't hear him at all.
You can't hear me at all.
Oh, real quiet.
Oh, well, that's.
And you're back.
I am back.
Now you're back.
I'm back. Oh, interesting.
So to catch, first welcome Damon and Amy back to Under the Cowl.
Yes.
I almost said of MS, but that is Kirby's podcast because I listen to every episode, and so whenever I hear Under the Cowl more often because he does like 3 to 4 episodes a week. So
Yeah.
it almost rolled off the Major Melon tongue here to say of MS, but
Well, if I were Kirby, I'd do more episodes too.
just talked about the new Major Melon watermelon Mountain Dew. Very tasty.
Okay.
We talked about the Deadpool 3 confirmation, Ryan Reynolds returning, and the R rating officially confirmed.
Yay.
David was talking about his award-winning chalsa, which is a combination of chili and, believe it or not, salsa. Salsa. And and now you're caught up.
Sweet.
Although Damon should have been here when we were discussing, as we were talking about Deadpool's R rating and how Disney will most likely handle some of these new franchises that they now own and everything else. I know that Damon is familiar with the Alien franchise, so he could have put his 2 cents into that. How he thinks those will go once they start making things under Disney ownership with that, because eventually they're going to do something. Currently they're doing comics, they're doing something with comics, but eventually I would imagine they're going to go back into films and do something, because there's just too much money lying around for Disney not to do something with it.
So as the Alien fan, Damon, are you looking forward to the cool variant covers for Marvel that are rolling out starting January, B, the Alien new comic coming from Marvel Comics in March, and C, the potential of TV shows and movies for Aliens under Disney's ownership?
Yes, and I'm most certainly looking forward to the Aliens Omnibus coming out in April. As far as the movies go, Disney has already said they are going to keep up with the franchise. As of right now, there is already a 5th Predator movie in development. That's already started. The cat was out of the bag. They were calling it Skulls, and they described it as an Apache woman dealing, during the Civil War. And the cover was blown, and it actually is going to be set in during the Civil War, but it is going to be a Predator movie. At least that's what they're telling us right now. So the next Predator movie is in development, which is cool because the Predator Civil War story arc that Dark Horse had, which I actually bought from the Prince and Cowl Comics and Collectibles, was a good story. As far as the Alien franchise goes, Disney has said they are going to keep the franchise going. As to what they're going to do, though, that is still up in the air. I know Ridley Scott had 2 more prequels planned to bridge the gap between Alien Covenant and the original Alien. He's still interested in doing that, but Disney, based on the results of Covenant, might drop him down to just 1 movie if they allow him to go on. There's also rumors about an Alien 5, which would also include Sigourney Weaver. She said she'd be interested in coming back and playing Ripley once again. But there is nothing officially slated in production. Everything is pre-production. They're writing scripts and coming up with ideas. Nothing's officially greenlit yet, but Disney did confirm that they are going to keep it going. So, and I think that's part of the reason why they're releasing the omnibus in April, and they're starting a new lines, trying to give fans hope that, hey, don't worry, we got something coming. We're not going to let it die.
Yeah, there's a lot of properties to juggle that they own. So,
which is interesting because Disney has never been a fan of releasing anything over PG-13. They're not a fan of R-rated movies. And you can't really make a PG-13 Predator or Alien film. It's just not going to work.
Right. And so we discussed that there probably will continue to, obviously they own it and people know that they own it, but I'm sure that they will still distance themselves to a degree from these other things and not, as we discussed earlier, not start everything out with the fireworks over the Magic Kingdom
Right.
and
I
everything.
think if I was Disney, what I would do is create my own, and it can just be a name. It doesn't actually have to be a separate entity, but just your production house that's just going to release all the R-rated content.
Yeah, because didn't they give like a name to Fox? I forget if there was like a new, I don't know if it was a temporary name, but some, not a 20th Century Fox, but I think there was a.
No, it's
new
Robin
version.
Hood.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I'm sure it'll kind of go down that route of something of, because I think there's even talk about that for Disney Plus, that there would be an R-rated attachment to that through security your parental controls to house all that content, unless they were just to drop it on Hulu or something. But I think there was at least some discussion of what to do with some of that stuff. And
I don't know on that. I can't see the Alien franchise being like on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Because people are lazy. Not everyone's going to set parental controls. And oddly enough, all the Alien films are on HBO Max, which is interesting considering that's owned by Warner Brothers. So
yeah, so it might just be a contract thing at the moment, much like everything else, even with the stuff with like Peacock, like while they own, like The Office just came over there, but Netflix had it until the end of the year. And even with the Marvel movies for Disney Plus, some of the Marvel studios were still sitting on Netflix until, I think they're all on there now though. So
Right. Being a Star Trek fan, one thing that me and Ethan, as we were watching stuff, kind of noticed is CBS All Access has all the Star Trek stuff on it, but all the older stuff, not the current stuff like Discovery and Picard and things like that, but all the older shows, Next Generation, Original Series, Voyager, all that is on CBS All Access, but it's also on Netflix. And so our thought is, eventually, probably not too far in the future, none of that's going to be on Netflix either, because I'm sure it all has to do with whatever the deal was that was made to put it on Netflix to begin with, probably carried through until 2020 something, at which point I'm sure that CBS will pull all that off, and then you'll only be able to watch it on CBS All Access.
do either of you have CBS All Access?
I actually do right now, because we got a free trial and we started watching some of the newer stuff to give it a shot, and we weren't getting through all of it, and we're like, you know what, we'll pay for it for a month. So I've got it for a month, but I haven't watched anything beyond some of the newer Star Trek stuff.
I was thinking again that just saw I could watch the remake of The Stand. Is that one of the things you've been watching?
No, and it keeps getting advertised on there, but is that out? It's not finished yet, is it?
No, it's going to go to the end of February. I think there's nine episodes, and I think there's only 3.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I'd consider doing that, but then I'd have to get it for another month to watch it through February. But yeah, they keep showing advertisements on there, but I'm never quite sure, because the ads, we paid less and we're sitting through the ads, and half the ads on there are for CBS All Access. It's always fun when you're watching something and they fill it full of ads for what you're watching. But they keep showing ads for The Stand on there too. So I have been pretty curious about that one.
if you like Star Trek Discovery, you may also like Star Trek Discovery. Like season one, you might also like season 2.
They actually do, although they'll throw related stuff in there. Like there's some Star Trek video game that they keep throwing on there too, and stuff like that. But yeah, like most things that show advertisements, you see the same like handful of advertisements over and over and over and over, and it just makes you hate whatever they're advertising.
Yep. As we are nearing 8 o'clock, I will say that I am on my way out shortly. Feel free, obviously, David, as you're hosting the show here, if the conversation may still continue, if you still wanted, more stuff to talk about. But I will be heading out. But I wanted to give a special shout out for Lamer's Dairy chocolate milk that is fully stocked at the time of this recording, Damon and Amy, and tomorrow, Thursday, probably between 12 and 1, if Englehart Dairy delivers the Kemp's delivery, which carries the Sassy Cow chocolate. I do have 16 bottles ordered of the chocolate Sassy Cow. And if my stocker, while I'm not there, is actually doing the job, hopefully they'll be at least on the shelf by the evening.
Well, I just sold Englehart some parts to fix a truck today, so they should have it up and running and making their deliveries.
But yep. So I can guarantee the Lamer's Dairy chocolate milk. I can't guarantee the Sassy Cow because who knows if it'll show up. So
Yeah, I didn't sell them any parts to fix their truck.
But yeah, so yeah, that'll do it for me, and I got some vision to reading to do before bed. So,
Right.
Getting all caught up before WandaVision, huh?
yeah, before WandaVision on Friday, so I got 3 different rereads going with all of the Tom King Vision, Gabriel Walta, the 80s and 90s or 80s miniseries with Scarlet Witch and Vision, and I'll be starting House of M shortly as well to kind of get in the mood. So on the show next week, we will have episodes 1 and 2 because they're going to drop 2 on Friday for WandaVision. So I'm definitely going to bring that to the table to start talking about that. So little plug for next week.
So watch them if we participate.
Mhm.
I guess I'm going to have to stay up to date on that.
Well, I'll at least talk about the beginning of it, whether it doesn't have to be a weekly thing, but at least watch the first 2,
Well, they're doing Fridays. That might just be the Friday night watch thing now instead of the Mandalorian. We don't have that right now, and that was kind of the family thing. Tammy would get home from work, and then we would sit down and watch the Mandalorian. So now Friday nights, maybe that'll be our thing. Is she gets home from work and we all sit down and we watch us some WandaVision.
All right. Sounds good. So, yep, I am going to head on out. Have a good night, everybody.
All right, we'll talk to you Saturday.
All right. We'll try to get on earlier next time.
It's funny, and I don't know how long you were waiting this time, but I kept watching. I kept looking up there, and then after a while, there's nothing on. We even gave up on Kirby, because he didn't message us or anything. He just was a no-show. So after a while, we just completely gave up, and I stopped checking the corner regularly, and then all of a sudden. Now I noticed you up there at the same time that you must have messaged to let us in, and I don't know if it was a comment or whatever, but Anthony saw it. And,
Yeah, I sent a message to Anthony. Tell Dave to let us in.
Okay, yeah, because he got that message at the same time that I saw the name up here. So.
Yeah, we were going to hop on at 7, but we lost track of time.
We'll set an alarm or something.
Yeah.
Well, I was worried I was going to be late. I had to make dinner, and I was rushing, and I'm like, wasn't going to be able to make it and finish it and eat all in time. So that's why I was talking about my chalsa, because that's what I made for dinner and had to eat, at the start of it here. So.
All right. Well, I'll see ya. Have a good weekend.
All right, you too. Maybe we'll see you Saturday if you're available. Otherwise, we'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Yep, sounds good.
Bye.
All right, have a good night.